Inside, 1 hour youth dialogue that sets the agenda for young people to be expressive of their view, thoughts, activities, and how they affect the society. Join us every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for Youth Inside, only on KMTV. With me, your host, Sherman. It's a pleasant Tuesday afternoon. Once again, we'd like to welcome you to Youth Inside. Of course, we all know this is a youth platform intended to bring out our voices for the better Liberia we all yearn for. Today, we look at our great stand on the education system. The education sector, as it is vital for our upbringing, for a guaranteed and educated youth of this country. What do we stand for? How is Liberia progressing when it comes to the education system, the education sector? We see it important, and if we see it important, what are the roles of young people when it comes to what are those things they are doing to make sure young people see the education system as an area of impact, as an area that life can be transformed, and it is a global knowledge and acknowledgement that education is key to life. So today we look at the Move for Education advocate, and it's all geared toward 20% of the national budget to be allocated to the education sector. We've seen a lot of forces. We've seen a coalition of various civil society, youth organizations, and so on and so forth coming up to make sure that the issue of 20% of the national budget is allocated to the education systems. So we've brought with us two distinct individuals who are in the vanguard of making sure the issue of 20% of the national budget is allocated to the education system, the education sector. We've had with Matthew S. Kali. He's the senior program manager of the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia. We also have us Afrida Na, program manager for helping our people to excel, hope for short. And these are the distinct people who are going to tell us how far is the issue of Move for Education, which is known as something for a 20% increment into the education sector. So we'll be right back after this short break. My name is Sherman. I remain your host. This is Youth Inside.
Hi, I'm Prince Larmin Jarbo, founder of Project Change. As an organization, our mission is to groom self-sustaining youth to help rebuild a productive Liberia. We change the mindsets of the youth from one that says I cannot to one that believes I can. We're proud to sponsor the Youth Insight on KMTV, presented by Sherman, because we also believe in creating a platform for the young people to voice themselves. If you would like to learn more about what we do and how we do it, and how you can join the movement, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Pro Change in Liberia. Or you can also visit our website at prochangeInLiberia.org. That's PROCHANGEIN Liberia. Until next time, enjoy the show.
With the rising numbers, young people around the world are vital to the transformation of society. Of course, they are direct architects to the very uniqueness we need. But what is the way forward in reducing some of the challenges hindering the involvement of youth and society? Is it health, education, advocacy, and you just name it? Here comes Youth Inside, 1 hour youth dialogue that sets the agenda for young people to be expressive of their view, thoughts, activities, and how they affect the society. Join us every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for Youth Inside, only on KMTV. With me, your host, Sherman. Welcome back. This is Youth Insight, and like I said earlier, we have distinct individuals who are working towards engaging government, engaging partners to make sure the issue of education is something not to be taken lightly, but to be taken holistically by various stakeholders, especially the government, which is a regulatory arm to making sure Liberia has a unique education system. So with us today, we have Matthew Kali. He's the senior program manager at the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia, and of course we have us Afrida Na. She's also a program manager of the Hope institution that's helping our people to excel, and that's a unique name. And we want to welcome these guys in our studio this beautiful afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Anyway, so you guys are highly welcome to KMTV. It's a pleasure bringing you forth to explain to us what is your role.
Well, I want to say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to appear on this widely listened to platform. And we see as an opportunity to share our thought, and we also see as an opportunity to inform the young people on different issues and how we intend to drive our country in the next decade that have just started.
That means we have enough and sufficient role to play, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, let's welcome our madam. You welcome. First of all, I'd like to know you.
My name is Frida Fobama.
Okay.
I'm the program manager at USL. We are hope we believe that the young people of Liberia are important, so we put our efforts, our time, making sure that they are empowered. And education is one of the sectors that is being underdeveloped, and we hope that we are advocating with the government to see how they can make sure that the sector is empowered by increasing the budgetary allocation for education in Liberia. So thank you for inviting me
All right, it's a pleasure, and once again, this is your home. Please be free as we go about bringing those ideas, those information regarding the education system, sector, and we hope that we can bring forth, we can have that fruitfulness we all are yearning for. Let's start the ball rolling. Let's understand your own organization. What is it into before getting into the entire, discussion.
Okay. So UCL is the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia. We started our institution in 2013. Far back in Lofa County, we started as a youth organization. Fast forward, in 2014, we got accredited by the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning as a full-fledged national NGO. So our primary focus is in education. We have 4 thematic areas, and one of those thematic areas is policy advocacy. So we work around policy issues, we work with stakeholders to ensure that the policy also affect the young people. And we also have youth engagement and participation, where we make sure that the young people also participate into the discussion that is happening in terms of policy making, in terms of development drive-oriented program. The young people are also involved. We also have another program called the Women's Rights and Marginalized Group. These are another sector of the society that we also look after. We look after the marginalized women. We look after rural women. Also look after young girls that are also part of our thematic areas. And the last thematic area we also focus on is the issues of data collection and research. Because all of this information that we are providing to our people, if we are not adequately informed, if we do not have the data, or we don't have the requisite information to provide to the young people or to provide to those stakeholders across the table, our information will be distorted. So in order to provide this information, it's important that we also include data research analysis to the work that we do. So these are the 4 thematic areas that we work as an institution, and we also have some core programs, and one of the core programs is the IE Summit. The IE Summit is the Annual Youth Education Empowerment Summit. We host that summit every year annually to bring young people from across Africa to discuss issues around education. To also discuss issues around entrepreneurship, bringing new innovation to the work that we do, and how young people can also be mentored, how young people who are interested more into entrepreneurship can have people that will mentor them. We also have another core program called the Entrance Space. The Entrance Space is where we recruit university graduates that also come to our space. We provide a 6-week internship program for them, and for them we also look to see how we can provide job opportunity outside of the work that we do, so that at least they can have a first start of job employment. Because many of those people who are graduating from tertiary education, university and colleges, unfortunately some of them are not had opportunity to to work before. So the job experience, the job readiness, even responding to email, some of those basic things, many of our young people are not very open to it, or we cannot blame them, but we blame the system. That's the reason why we have that as a core program, part of the work that we do at USF.
I know you got a couple of works to do, as an institution, as a young folks, and that's the strength of young people. Let's get to you, madam. Can we understand what is Hope doing? What is what Hope is oriented for? Can we understand that?
So as you said earlier, Hope is the meaning of Hope is helping our people excel. Hope is a local NGO that has been around for 10 years. We have over 10 years experience when it comes to training, advocacy, and partnership development, focusing on community-based initiative and advocacy. And over the time, Hope has been in the vanguard, making sure that policies that are in place are implemented. And we've been able to work with youth groups, making sure that they have the proper knowledge to go and advocate, because you cannot go and talk to them if you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So over the time, we've had a series of programs. We have 3 areas that we focus on: the social, the economic, and the educational area. For the social, we have a lot of programs that we are undertaking. If you are aware of the Girls Manifesto, the Girls Manifesto was spearheaded by Hope in 2011 when we saw the need that Liberia needed to come up with something. The girls said, of Liberia said that they wanted to make sure that their voices are heard. So we have this girls advocacy forum where we keep 200 girls came together to come up with a carve or plan to say this is what we want you to do for us as young girls of Liberia. So that policy plan was developed, and it was passed into law by our president, Mrs. Selig, at that time. We also within the social area, we have our girls club that we run. We are in 10 countries in Liberia, where we train young girls in advocacy and to see how they can get their voices, to speak to the leaders, to make sure that their voices are heard, to make sure that there are people that are going to talk about them, that the lawmakers, they go and talk to them to see how they can have their plans and policies in that direction. When it comes to education, we run a daycare to 6th grade school where we provide scholarship. Most of our students are scholarship students. Make sure that we have the best stay off the street and into the seats. So we provide scholarship for these children that can afford, because our core value is education. Once they are empowered, they make sure they can go and influence society out there. So Hope has been around, and when it comes to influencing policies, we were able to lobby with the children parliament then to pass the children law, children right law of Liberia. We're one of the partners along with other people to make sure that law came to full swing. So that's what we do. All
right, we understand you guys have numerous activities, works you guys doing, and when it comes to your own institutional background and institutional reasoning. But today we take a look at your own joint advocacy step you're doing, especially, and trust me, I'm part of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So if you tell, we basically looking at the move for education, and we understand the correlation for education in Liberia. There are a lot of institutions, organizations, civil society who are taking the bold step to make sure the national government, and specifically the national legislature, can make sure Liberia reach a benchmark of 20%. And we also understand that 20% could be added depending on the kind of lawmaking that we're going to do, or depending on kind of advocacy and the agreement lawmakers and decision makers are going to do. So we want to jumpstart. Let's first establish that this is a joint team working together, that the issue of education, Liberia reaching a 20%, of budgetary allocation to the education sector is made. So they are just handful of some organizations, and with us today we have the UCEL, that's the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia. We also have, among other institutions, we have Hope, helping our people to excel, and this is one of the means that they are trying to make sure Liberia excels. So let's get started. Can you tell us, let's start with you, Matthew. Can we understand what brought about the issue of Move for Education? Can you give a background about it?
Yes, thank you very much. The Move for Education, originally it was not the original name Move for Education. So we are seven civil society organization, respective civil society organization came together, and we have this project that is being supported by the USAID through the Liberia Accountability and Voice Initiative, LAVI for short. So the Move for Education came about when we saw the original name of the entire advocacy intervention that talked about improving democracy, improving education through democracy.
Okay.
That name was very vague. It was not catching. And you know, when you're doing advocacy, the name, the message resonate with the people.
Okay.
So we say, okay, what we can do is that let's find a suitable name that will resonate with our people. So we say, okay, we call it the Move for Education. So that's how the Move for Education name came about. But fast forward, the Move for Education in 2017, late in 2017, the USAID through LAVI did a study. It did a survey across the counties, and the funding from those survey and research tell us that the issues around education were very, very alarming. The issues around classroom learning relevance were one of the issues in the survey, in the research. The issues around teacher training were also another issue, and the issue around the learning outcome, meaning that the output of the student, were also another issue. So based on all of these fundings, and we took the 3 fundings from them, we say, okay, let's see how we can have an advocacy intervention on these fundings. And we try to do a depth review and research. Because like I told you, in order to do this advocacy, you need to have the information. So we went further to do the research and looking at the different international protocol, regional instruments that Liberia also is a signatory to. So the first instrument that we got was the Dakar Framework of 2014. If you read the Dakar Framework of 2014, they also talk about countries in Africa allocating at least 20% to the budget. We went further beyond the Dakar Framework. There's another document called the Ichen Declaration. The Ichen Declaration in 2015, all the 52 member states in Africa, they came together and said the only way we can solve the issues around education on the African continent is to put pen to paper, is to make sure that we put framework in place, is to make sure to put all the different laws and policies into place. So the first thing we can do, they have a declaration that every member state will sign onto. And that declaration, if you read that declaration, Article 14 of the Ichen Declaration states that every country should allocate at least 6% of their GDP toward education. 6% of GDP. If you do the mathematics, 6% of GDP toward education, that alone consummated to what? 20%. So it says that every country should allocate at least 20%, minimum of 20% towards the education sector. Over the last period, looking at the budget from 2017 to 2018 budget, because we started this advocacy in late 2017 and really started in 2018, we have been fortunate to take the budget from 13% to 14.7%. So from 2017-2018 budget, the Move for Education, the entire Move for Education team, working with the stakeholder, working with the legislature, working with the Ministry of Finance, working with the Liberia Revenue Authority, and also working with the Office of the President. We took the percentage of the budget from 13% to 14.7% in 2017-2018 budget. Then 2018-2019 budget, we took the percentage now to 14.7%. Then in 2019 budget that had just been passed, we are now taking the percentage of the education budget from 14.7% to 15.9%. So you can see the level of progress that this movement, we call it a revolution. We can see the level of progress that this movement, this revolution, this advocacy intervention have caused.
Okay.
So in order to achieve that, we are now using your medium, to this medium and other medium we've been using to advocate, to appeal to our people, to appeal to the young people to join the advocacy intervention, to also appeal to other stakeholders.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that because I think at certain point the appeal will be something I would say you will not consider and rather go in one way or the other. But
exactly.
let's understand what brought about hope in this issue, because we understand it falls under your purview of working to education. Can we understand how hope came to realize the importance of making sure Liberia has a 20% budgetary allocation to education?
So as Matthew said, this project came about when USA Adelabi put up a bid for partners to apply, and Hope, having her strength in advocacy and partner alignment, we decided to apply to make sure to go out there and advocate to the lawmakers, because they are the ones that make the law. They say, okay, this is for this, is for that, and we are Hope. Our focus during this process was to focus on the girls, because our primary beneficiary are girls. So we were advocating to make sure that this budget is increased so that girls can have the necessary.
So when it's increased,
yes,
automatically girls will
be
affected.
Yes. So we brought to the table the aspect of the girls, making sure that the girls' voices can be heard, can engage, and to see how they can engage their lawmakers, because we are Hope, we believe in sustainability. How is this thing sustained? Why operator you do in the community, you do with the people, community-based initiative is important. So we went out there to talk to the town chiefs, the client chief, the girls, the boys, to make sure that you have these people, you give them power, so you can go ahead and talk to them at your town meetings, at your when you go for their agricultural break, to see how you can influence and make sure that this budget is increased. So that's what we did, and it gave some fruits. So as we go back, we talk about those successes that we had in the field.
So as it stands now, we've had a lot of coalition parties. We have like the National Teachers Association, the National Parent Teachers Association Network of Liberia. We also have and we also have COTE, which is the we also have a lot of institutions involved in this issue of advocating for Liberia to achieve a 20% allocation, that's budgetary allocation to the national budget. Let's understand what's the achievement so far, and if yes, how is it like for what you've had from the onset?
Yes, so I was just trying to intimate some of those achievements we have had over the last 2 to 3 years running this project. And you just spoke about NTA, also part of the coalition, and Nantane also part of the coalition, the youth movement is also part of the coalition, and Hope RDI also part of the coalition. So this coalition is very unique. It's unique into the sense that we brought an organization that also deal with persons with disability. Okay. Because if you are talking about education, you cannot leave persons with disability behind. They are also a stakeholder into this business. So we also brought it on board. The coalition or the project also brought it on board. We also brought the Teacher Association on board as well. And we also brought institutions that deal directly with young women and girls. For example, Hope that also deal with girls, who also thought it was the Move for Education team also thought it was to bring them together. So like I said initially, that we have been able, we have not achieved 100%, but there are some steps that have been
we want to say you've had 15.9%.
We have 15.9% currently now in the 2019-2020 budget. And we are very hopeful, we are very optimistic that before the end of 2020, before the end of July 2020, we cannot achieve the 20% benchmark. The reason why we want to achieve the 20% benchmark, these are some of the reasons why. Because if you look at the sector, The sector, you will also agree with me that the sector is very challenged.
Okay.
The sector is challenged in the form for classroom management. Some of those teachers, we are now trying to demonize them, but some of those teachers that appear into the classroom, some of them does not have the ethics when it comes to the teaching profession. Let's also look at the facility. Let's look at the structure of those classrooms. In this 21st century where students are learning on trees, in this 21st century where people go to school, you have peaks. Imagine peak in the morning can leave from the classroom, then students enter the classroom to have lesson. That is so important. These are things that will also play on the mind of the student. And the third thing is also the output of the students. Many of our young people, to be very frank with you, many of our young people, they graduate from university, they graduate from colleges, they can't even write a friendly letter, they can't even have composition. We are not bringing them into the system. They cannot even have a friendly conversation in the public. So these are things that the sector is lacking, and the only way that thing can be fixed is the resources. Other people want to ask, why the resources? Why, if we get the resources, what happens next? The first thing that we can do is to make sure we put resources into the sector. If we put resources into the sector, we will achieve more. Let me take you all your bed and give you one information for free. The Global Partnership for Education. The Global Partnership for Education is an international institution that also helps nations educational sector. The Global Partnership for Education over the last 2 to 3 years have been able to give our government some resources for the education sector. And that money has not been sufficient because they also have a benchmark. And the benchmark they have is that every country that exceeds the 20% benchmark for education issue, they give that country $40 million. Imagine that. If we have $40 million added to the 20% or the money we have, it will reduce or it will help to mitigate the gaps faced in the sector. So that's the reason why we are telling our people to join effort with us in making sure that we achieve the 20%. Let me just give you some analysis. In the Monrovia Union country, meaning that all the countries surrounding Liberia, Sierra Leone, imagine Sierra Leone have exceeded 20%. Right now, Sierra Leone is approaching 26%. Sierra Leone education budget, the budget to the education sector is around 26 to 27%. Look at Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast have just reached the 20% benchmark. Look at Guinea. Guinea have just passed the 18%. They are now into 19%, approaching the 20% benchmark. I'm not talking about beyond the Monrovia Union country. Ghana is far ahead of 33%, close to 35% of their budget to
I think so far, I think they're the highest right now.
In West Africa, they are the highest. But we go to East Africa, Ethiopia, and other countries, they are around 37 to 38%. Well, what we are saying is that in order for this country, this sweet land of liberty, this country that is 172 years old, in order for this country to get that sustainable development, we should prioritize the human resource capacity. And the human resource capacity has to do with education, has to do with putting more money into the sector so that our people can be educated, so that the young people that constitute majority of the population can be educated. Because we believe, I believe in the quotation from Nelson Mandela that said that any country that prioritizes the issue for education for a citizen, that country is bound to make progress. But any country that does not prioritize the issue of education for a citizen, that country is doomed to fail. When it comes to the issues of sustainable development, we will not achieve it. We agree with the president. We agree with the president that the president is putting some effort when it comes to road construction. We agree with that. But we're saying that the same effort you put into road construction, let's put that same effort to the education sector. Let's see the dividend. There is a lasting dividend that you can benefit from you putting more resources to the education sector than you having all the infrastructure. You can have all the infrastructure. I can tell you, if the people, human resource capacity are not developed, they one day time they will damage all of the infrastructure. So we are saying that the government, who have the bigger responsibility, should make sure that they focus on the education sector.
Let's talk to you. We will soon be getting at our bridge, but before then, let's understand what has been your role, female role in this entire issue, because we seeing your work, I mean your activities and so on so far. how have you been talking to female lawmakers, though they are less right now in the Liberia legislature, but have you had any attempts meeting them, talking to them, knowing the importance of having a 20% allocation to the education sector?
Okay, thank you. With for that question, we work as a coalition. So other partners were able to meet, but we were therefore Riverside lawmaker Madam Rosanna Shacks were able to meet for one-on-one. We met over our office and we gave her buy-in and to make sure that she can talk to her colleagues. Wherever we didn't just go to the females, we also the male were able to meet Representative Thomas Bushra. We met with the lawmakers from Riverside, Buchanan, Maryland, and Vancouver, River G. Talk to them one-on-one to see how they can help to other voice to our advocacy, and they were good enough to buy in our plans, and they said they gave us the assurance that they're going to help to make sure that.
Have there been dialogues, discussions? You've invited them, making them to understand, because most of the time lawmakers are carried away by political will. Because if there is no political will, especially what you guys are yearning for, or what we are yearning for, I mean, you don't see the fruitfulness in what you really want. Have you had dialogue, discussions with lawmakers? I mean, appropriate lawmakers to the various issues, so that Liberia can reach to a mark where it is signatory to.
So before my come in,
okay.
This, as I said, this is a coalition. So there have been series of dialogues with lawmakers. The Cote have taken lawmakers to the field, and for us as at Hope, we did research to make sure what are those gaps when it comes to we are saying government should increase budget, but what are those things that will hamper girls from going to school? And we went ahead, we did a research, and we didn't know that the issue as Matthew said, once the sector is up to standard, the girls of Liberia, because our focus is on girls, I'm sorry, but all of our work we do, most of it is on girls. So once the schools are there, the girls will go to school. We're going to be encouraging them to go to school. They will say, oh, there's no school, there's no this. So we're telling the lawmakers, when you do this, you make sure that our girls stay in school. And one of the things that we found out when we were doing the research is the issue, the distance from schools. When you go in the interior, you see girls working from one town to another, the distance. And that's also caused the issue of them being raped. Because if a girl has to walk from one town, 1 hour from that town to go to school, she might in the instant become raped, and then the issue of teen pregnancy comes about. Okay. So we're telling we did the research, we gave the funding to this lawmaker and said these are the things that we need to work on. Make sure that there's enough schools, that the schools are equipped. Once they are there, the girls of Liberia will be free to go to school. They will have the space to go to school, and you make sure that Liberia is developed, because our minds are developed.
Yeah, you are talking. You want to add up, Matthew?
Yes, I did want to allow you. You spoke about our engagement with national level stakeholders, for example, lawmakers. So I just wanted to provide more information to that we have been fortunate to speak to the two caucuses on education. So the House of Representatives is headed by Representative he was former president for the UMU University, Johnson Kweklo. So Johnson Kweklo, who happened to be the chairperson on education at the House of Representatives, we have been able to meet with him. We have been able to meet with the education committee. At the House of Senate is Senator Dallas Boy. You are also a witness that Senator Dallas Boy was also part of our education conference that was held. So in terms of the national stakeholder support to the process, I can say for free that their support has been overwhelming, and we still hope to see more matching their words with these, because it is good that you can come and make the fabulous speeches, but we want to see you matching your voice with these. When it comes to the issue of the political will, we want to appreciate the government for the step taken, but we also want to tell the government to do more, because it is our obligation, it is our responsibility to do more. Though there are some progress being made, but you see the issue here is when the budget, the budget, the 2018-2019 budget was much more higher than the 2019-2020 budget. They are approximately close to 83 million deficit. Though they are approximately 83 million deficit, but the government still mustered the courage to at least increase the education sector budget to 15.9%. So we are also telling the government it is much more sustainable, it is much more resourceful when you increase the education budget to 20%. All of those issues, some of those issues you see in the sector are issues that can be solved. And it can only be solved when there are resources in the sector. For example, for a teacher to go to a classroom, a teacher have to, right now the current situation right now in Grand Nigeria, for example, what teacher will have to leave from Putu, from Konobo to come to Zwaju to get paid. And they have to spend 1 week, 2 weeks in Zwaju just to catch their check for pay. Imagine what happened to the students. The student in at the time they come back and forth, what happened to the student? If they are in Zwaju for 2 weeks, that alone tell you that the student will be out of class for 2 weeks. They will not have lesson to be taught for 2 weeks, and will also affect them, especially those people who are taking the wise. It will also affect the curriculum as well. So we are telling the government to have the bigger responsibility. Even those civil society organizations are also pushing the government, but we also want to ensure that the government makes sure that they increase the education budget by 20%. We are not just only telling them, but we're giving them the alternative where you can take the money from. That is the domestic resource mobilization strategy that we have added to the entire Move for Education campaign. We have also provided the government resourceful document where they can get the taxes from. Because one of the issues that, for example, the ARA boss said to all the lads that they said the young people, he said to all that, young men, your idea is brilliant, your advocacy is good, but where can we get the money from? The moment he mentioned that, we told him that these are the areas you can get the money from. The airport tax, the SIM tax, the value added tax. In Labo we don't pay what we call value added tax.
So a lot of things we don't
do. The VAT only in Labo, in the whole Malawi basin, only in Labo we're not paying the value added tax. People get property, you cannot pay for the value added tax on the property, even on the salary that they pay, even on the, for example, DSA. All of those things need to be taxed. But like I said to you, the government is making some effort. The government needs to do more. And the only way the government can do more, except we push the government fee to the fire.
Okay, the government needs to do more, and of course we will join the forces, the advocacy arm, to make sure we have a 20% plus, more of the 20%, and that's what we are wishing for to see. If you just joined us, this is the Youth Insight platform only on KMTV. This is a dialogue that sets the agenda where we as young people can come up, unleash our voices with what we had, those activities impacting our society at large. And we have with us distinct individuals of the hope that is helping our people to excel. We also have first UCL Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia, and they are in partnership with the Move for Education team to make sure Liberia reaches a benchmark of 20% of the national budget. So we are taking a very short break, and after our break, we'll be bringing the voices of other stakeholders, of the supporting partners on this issue of the education system reaching 20%. So again, wherever you are, this is Youth Insight, and after this very short break, we'll be bringing in their voices. Keep watching.
Hi, I'm Prince Larmin Jarbo, founder of Project Change. As an organization, our mission is to groom self-sustaining youth to help rebuild a productive Liberia. We change the mindsets of the youth from one that says I cannot to one that believes I can. We're proud to sponsor the Youth Insight on KMTV presented by Zach Sherman because we also believe in creating a platform for the young people to voice themselves. If you would like to learn more about what we do and how we do it and how you can join the movement, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Pro Change in Liberia. Or you can also visit our website at prochangeinliberia.org. That's PROCHANGEIN Liberia. Until next time, enjoy the show.
Welcome back. This is Youth Insight, and of course, like I promised, we have those voices, those strong arms. I mean, people who are fighting this issue of getting Liberia reaching 20% of budgetary allocation to education, and that's which we look at as a positive outcome. If Liberia should have a guaranteed youthful population, of course we are yearning for education, and education can't just come when it is not supported financially, when the legislature is not backing it in a holistic manner, even the government as well in totality. So let's get the voice of the National Coalition of Cote in Liberia. Is Anderson Miamin. He's also the executive director of Centar. Let's get those voices, their voices they've put out today at a press conference in Monrovia.
The sector of education. Taking on regional skill, Liberia's funding to education lags far behind regional neighbors. A research conducted by the Coalition for Transparency and Accountability in Education last year, 2019, found that Sierra Leone allocated 27% of its budget to education, while Ghana and Senegal invested 35% of their budgets to education. This leaves us to wonder why Liberia is failing to invest considerably in education, while other countries are investing in building a vibrant education sector. Can Liberia really brag about the future belonging to young people when we are not investing in their education? A lot more has to be done if education must reach desirable heights in the country. Government, as a coalition, we have been involved in advocacy for more funding to education over the last 16 months, and this has exposed us firsthand to the anomalies in the sector. Our education sector is faced with numerous challenges due to low financing. These challenges range from lack of adequate learning facilities and supplies to shortage of teachers, inadequate training of teachers, and ineffective school monitoring and supervision. The Education Reform Act of 2011 has not been fully operationalized, giving it the teeth to bite and ensuring that there are county structures. These many challenges continue to stand in the gap of quality and affordable education for all Liberians. Education-related matters have and are still being politicized and not treated with the urgency required. The 2009 Liberia Youth Fragility Assessment found that youth are currently faced with high levels of unemployment, low levels of education and skills training, a severe lack of links to sustainable livelihoods, and insufficient or improper training for the Liberian job market. The large number of out-of-school and at-risk children and youth put Liberia at risk of not achieving objectives in the 2015 economic stabilization and
GP is willing to help us, but these are benchmark. GP gave $2 billion to Ghana because of that 35% of their national budget that they allocated. They gave over $170 million to Sierra Leone. Right now, from elementary to high school are all free. They provided 100 free buses to carry the kids to school, uniform, book bag, everything is free from elementary to high school level. So we have been traveling around, and we're now seeing our colleagues in the sub-region benefiting from these ventures from our international partner, while Liberia is lacking behind when we need more support. So we are asking the national legislature, since they have the oversight responsibility to allocate funding from one budget line item to the next, to work with the executive to ensure that the 20% benchmark is met. The government to play her part, and we will continue to engage our international partners.
Again, welcome back. This is Youth Insight. You've heard the voices of the Secretary General of the NTA, that's National Teachers Association. Earlier was Central Executive Director, Mr. Anderson Miamin. These are partners into the issue of More for Education, which Liberia seeks to have a 20% to education budgetarily. And we have us today to join us in this discussion, Matthew Kali. He is the senior program manager of the Youth Coalition for Education in Liberia. We also have us Frida Man. She's also a the program manager of Hope, which is helping our people to excel. Let's get back to the guys who are with us in studio, and we are all working together to make sure Liberia reaches a benchmark of having the 20% of budget allocation to the education sector, that which we all are anticipating, and that can be done through the instrumentality of those reputable lawmakers, government officials, and decision makers who are on the table to make the difference. Let's get back to our guests here today. Let's start up with you, Afrida. Let's start up on the issue of using. Do you have plan to use the constituency? We want to say that constituency, very lawmakers constituencies have influence on their decision as well. Do you care about your decentralization of this issue to the locals, maybe community in the hinterland? Maybe you don't only look at the lawmakers, but you look at where they're from as well. Maybe how you engage them will help them relate to their lawmakers. Do you care about reaching out to those people to make sure that they have a pressure on their lawmakers when it comes to Liberia having a 20% allocation to education?
Okay, thank you. As I said earlier, we have engaged the community leaders.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the counties talking to the town chiefs, the clan chief, the women leader, the youth chairpersons for these counties that we're working in, to make sure that they can have a say. So they came up with a policy statement to present to that lawmaker at their county cities.
Mm-hmm.
So we have engaged them already, and we continue to engage them to see how they too can add their voices. As I said earlier on, they are the ones that put them in office.
Okay.
So they have to tell them, say, these are the things we want to prioritize when it comes to our well-being as citizens of Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
So we've engaged them, and we continue to engage them as time to make sure that they can continue to put the pressure, because the people say when they put fire behind people, they don't move. So and then we are hoping that this coming elections,
mm-hmm.
that they can also come back and say, okay, we told you these things when you were there. Now you want to come out to us and say you want these things. So and in 2017 and 2018, we told them that you have to say, because if this vote do not make sure that they add their voice to these things, you have the power to allocate for in power,
mm-hmm.
or maybe stay there. So they play a major role in making sure that this advocacy is sustained,
mm-hmm.
because they will have to say, okay, you didn't do that for us. So what can you do? How can we trust you again that you say you go there and fight for our benefit or our interest? So these people, the town chief, the clan chief, the youth chair, the women leaders, all of them came on board to make sure they say, okay, we'll make sure that we talk about lawmakers. So we continue to engage them as time go by. I think Matthew was in Grange there, and they have a forum there. We too have in the past when we're in Maryland's River G and Grange there, and Grand Crew, we had a forum come with the students, the local authorities to come up with the chiefs and everybody. Mm-hmm. So they are on board. They are on board, and we continue to engage them to make sure that they hold their lawmakers accountable, because it is their right to make sure that their issues are put forward when it comes to education.
So when it comes to generally, when it comes to publication of this idea you bring it on board, taking away a bit of the lawmakers, can you consider how the public have viewed your engagement to that? Because we believe the Liberian populace have to be educated. They need this information. They need to make sure if their own government is not doing what a certain group of people is advocating for, so that Liberia can be transformed educationally, they can put pressure on their government. Have you had the opportunity, or have you gone to make sure that your voices or your advocacy is reached to them?
Yes, Zach, before I answer that question, sorry for that, before I answer that question,
Go ahead.
let me just respond quickly to some of the previous question you asked on decentralization. So let me also give you some of the different mechanisms or the different steps that we use on this project. The Move for Education team, the entire project, the civil society organization was divided across the 15 counties. So each of the counties in Liberia were affected. Like I told you, the civil society organization were in the 15 counties, and they had series of different county level activities. So for example, one of the key activities that were conducted in the county was in Vivaji County, for example, Representative Young in Vivaji County, he part of his manifesto, a campaign promise to the people.
Talk about education.
Talk about education. So what we decided to do at the Move for Education is that people who in their platform talk about education, we took the component in their platform and we engage them back. We say, Honorable X, when you are campaigning to your people, you spoke highly about education. What are your approach to education? This is what we intend to do. Can you help us and support us to move the idea forward? And Honorable Young, when our educational monitor was fortunate to meet him, he was so impressed. And during the county setting, we were able, the Move for Education team were able to mobilize the young people. There's a scenario that whenever there's a county setting, those lawmakers carry young people that will vote in their interest. But that it was not the case this time around. We directed the course of happening at the county setting because the young people gained the consciousness from our different engagement with them, and they saw the need that putting Palawa Hut and education, they choose education over Palawa Hut. Buying motor bar for county education officer and education, they choose education over buying motor bar for county education officer. These are the approaches we carry on in the respective county. Let me speak to your question quickly on the young people accepting the advocacy. Like I told you, the Move for Education is a unique project. The reason why it's unique because we have almost all the different sectors across the table. For example, you also are representing the young people, not even on this project, but on the education stakeholder group and the ESDC, we are also representing the young people. So you also come with a youthful perspective. You look at RDR working with persons with disability. RDR bring in the person with disability perspective. You look at Hope working with young girls. Hope bring in the girls perspective. You look at NTA working with what? Working with teachers. They bring in the teacher perspective. You look at Kote also do transparency issue. In order to achieve the thing, we are talking about Move for Education, but they also discuss about what? Transparency and what? Accountability. Because if we just give 20%, if we don't able to manage it, we will still go back to square zero. So all of the sectors are involved, and I can say to you that this is a revolution. This is a movement. We see it as a movement. We don't see it as a project. We see it as something that is part of our daily life that we can talk anywhere, that we can say anywhere, that is needed, and it's very important for our society.
Let's talk to you with press of time. We stop it, but before then, let's understand. Women are people captured. A lot of people want to empower women because they're looking at women as people who have been marginalized over the years, and they are items that can be looked at positively and making sure decisions affecting society can be turned around, especially where you as women are being looked at to be empowered. How do we stand when it comes to women involvement in this whole issue? Do we foresee a very positive outcomes when women, especially you, are involved into this issue?
Women make up most of Liberian population, both young girls and older women, and the women have been involved. because all of our county sittings, of our county forums, our forums we held, women have been in the lead, making sure that they can come up with ideas to see how they can engage the lawmakers. They have to say, we want to capture the man, you talk to the wife. So we use that notion to talk to the town chief, got his wife. The wife will say, darling, when you go to the senator, then he say, our children need to go to school. So the women bought the idea because they want to see that girls, that boys educated. So they have been in the forefront, making sure that they can come and say, how can I help?
Okay.
When we go to these meetings, they will say, oh, honorable, you said this thing to our children. We want to make sure that you stick to this place and make sure that that you come up with these things you say you want to. So they are always been there, and they continue to be, because women make sure that they want to make sure that children are educated, and they will set a market at Bidabo, that chicken to make sure that children are empowered, because they want to see up another Liberia. So they have been in the vanguard and continue to be there. And as hope, we continue to champion the cause of women to make sure that women are empowered. Because as I said, if there are schools, girls will be educated, will be encouraged to go to school. Because they didn't say from, tell to me, if even as a strong man, you walk from here to from my house, you'll be tired. So what sense? What strength will you have to go to the classroom? So we are asking the government to make sure that the sector is empowered, to make sure that there are more schools in it, especially in the hinterland. You go to these villages, there are no schools. One town, one school, there's a school here, and there are 10 different towns that come to that school.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that the budget is increased. We're talking to the government to make sure that you increase the budget to make sure that our children stay in school.
If I may ask the question to you guys shortly to answer, do you satisfied, or do you think this entire advocacy is going to yield result? Are you getting a gist or a fruitfulness in your plan, or in another sense is that, what year do you expect this to come to conclusion, to fruition?
So we are very optimistic. We are looking into the future to see the best coming out of this advocacy endeavor. Like I told you, we took the budget from 13% now to 15.9%. That is a progress, but it is not an incremental step. There are still more need to be done, because our aim and objective is 20%. And we are very optimistic that from now to June of 2020, we can achieve the 20%, because in the 2020-2021 budget, the government, the civil society, the stakeholders, they are all have been able to realize that education cannot be a third or full priority. Education should be a very first priority. They have realized
especially in our society,
especially the kind of country we found ourselves in. So education to be a very first priority. So answering your question, the More for Education team, the More for Education coalition partner are very optimistic, are very resolved. They are very positive that this movement, this revolution will exceed the 20% in 2021 in the next budget period in 2020.
That means you guys are looking at
2020 in 2020. Now we'll go from June 2020 to June 2021. Because as we enter in June and July, a preparation for the new budget period will start. So we are very optimistic, we are very resolved, we are looking into the future that between now to June or late July, we can achieve the 20%.
You want to add on that?
Yeah.
Matthew has already said it. We are optimistic that we're going to achieve our goal in the coming year, and so that they can be better schools, they can be better classroom management for our kids.
All right, if you just joining us again, we want to remind you that this is Youth Insight, and we want to have your party statement, you know, because we don't want to. Oh my man, I didn't see my phone away. so I mean, it's been a great time having you guys. But before we go, let's understand what's your concluding statement. What can you say to our public, the young people, the older people as well, the government of Liberia, especially the legislature, who has the all over authority when it comes to the percentage in the in the national budget. Let's hear what you can say to them and continue to say to them so that we can call this a day.
Okay, let me start because my feet can talk.
Yeah,
plenty,
I
so let
will.
me start. So, as I go, I want to caution us young people because Liberia depends on us, and I want us to put our eyes together to make sure that we can, as our Lord come to us, to really let them. I want us to use this as a caveat to say, we came to you for this thing and you didn't do it. We want to make sure that you do it in the coming year. Because if we don't come down hard on our lawmakers, they're not going to put things in our interest. And we want to beg, we want to appeal to our lawmakers, please, our fathers, our mothers are in the house, our sisters, our uncles, please see the need to make sure that you increase the budget to have a good learning outcome, to make sure that our children are coming up, will have a better space to go to school and be empowered for the future. So thank you to Game TV for inviting me, and I'm honored to be here.
I'm also honored for making sure you attend our invite, and we hope that your next time coming will be another added value to our existence.
I'm going to come back with my various issues. I'm going to tell you on purely on SGBV.
Okay,
so I'm going to come back very soon.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Let's talk to Matthew Kali, you young person. Let's get your conclusion when it comes to the entire issue of 20%. We hope that we will get the accountability side of it. We hope to get some time in other groups when it comes to accountability part of the issue of 20% of allocation of the national budget to education. But let's get you what you got to say to the Liberian people, the government, politicians, because what you do have a political work. How can you say in your partner statement?
Well, firstly, I'd like to appreciate the KNTV for inviting us to this studio and also using your widely listened to. And also, my parting comment is that education has reached a crisis point in Liberia, which we see as an emergency. The same way we put our hands around the issues of Ebola, we should consider education as an emergency. All hands should be on deck. We should treat it as a family thing so that we can achieve the 20% benchmark. In the absence of that, I can tell you the challenges will still remain and our young people will continue to complain. So we are asking the young people who are also in majority to join the advocacy intervention to ensure that we achieve the 20% benchmark. Or to all of our stakeholders, we say the best thing you can do for us, don't give her the rest, don't give her the t-shirt, midterm election is coming, just give her a commitment that when you go back to the House of Senate, you will make sure that the education sector is prioritized and we all can achieve the 20% benchmark. Lastly, I want to say thank you again for inviting us. I want to say thank you to the KNTV family.
All right, thank you guys for coming, and we hope to join you guys for more and more discussion, as this is a platform so we can make the change for our society. It was a great time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So on that note, distinct individuals of the coalition for let's say the More for Education Coalition, and of course they are yearning, and I want to declare my intention of that group, and we hope that our callings can be fruitful, and we want a 20% plus into the national budget, especially where education is vital to our society, and we all sit on the round table to look at education. We all point at education as a boon to our societal growth. If yes, we agree, then why are we not making the difference? Why we just sit back and don't count on those things that are to make us to understand, to realize, to work on the things that make education a reality, the thing that transform young people, that transform a society. All of the technologies, all of the scientific knowledge, all of the arts, and so on and so forth, all bows down to education. So if we don't have a sustained and guaranteed, not just guaranteed, but equipped education, who are we? What do we stand to benefit? How our future going to be like? Do we consider ourselves as a a positive action to future changes, especially as young people. Are we going to be dependable when it comes to our leadership in our country? We have lots of questions to ask. So that means that education should be a priority. Education is something we have to look at, and not just for our hands, especially our lawmakers, our decision makers, those crafting the policy, those implementing. We need to step forward. We need to come up. When it comes to 20%, I believe it's something that the government can work on. I believe it's something that the legislature can work on with a single eye, because I know when there is a political will on any issue that the legislature wants to do, it can be done with a snap of fingers. So we urging you, we want this to be heard. We want this to go all over, so that 20% of the national budget can be allocated to education, and that's which we stand for. And it is clear that we will achieve that as soon as possible. So one of the thanks to all of the partners who are involved into making sure the legislature, the decision makers, make sure education becomes an issue where it will reach 20% of 20% in the national budget wherefore you been. So thanks to User Lavi, who is a backbone for getting this collaborating party into the move for education, and we hope that that effort can still be added up to make sure education become a focus, that Liberians can have a joyful society, can boast of a fruitful and boastful education sector. Under them, my name is Sherman. I'm the host for Youth Insight, and it's my pleasure to have the guys, and we hope that they will come again to explain to all how far they've gone and what the government stands so far. So under them, thanks for being there, thanks for your viewing pleasure, and we hope your support can always be welcome. And just to shut up, to close up, this is a program still having an open door for sponsorship. If you want to sponsor us, please feel free to call us on 231 770 017702. Again, plus 321, that's 231 770 017772. It is open for sponsorship, and you want to partner with us, you want to come on board, you want to explain to us, it's no problem. We are open. This is why we created a scene that Liberian young people can come and voice themselves, even those decision makers relative to young people activities that come on board. So until then, thanks for being there. Again, I'm Sherman. That has been Youth Insight.
Hi, I'm Prince Larmin Jarbo, founder of Project Change. As an organization, our mission is to groom self-sustaining youth to help rebuild a productive Liberia. We change the mindsets of the youth from one that says, I cannot, to one that believes, I can. We're proud to sponsor the Youth Insight on KMTV, presented by Sherman, because we also believe in creating a platform for the young people to voice themselves. If you would like to learn more about what we do and how we do it, and how you can join the movement, you can find us on Facebook or Instagram at Pro Change in Liberia. Or you can also visit our website at prochangeInLiberia.org. That's PROCHANGEIN Liberia. Until next time, enjoy the show.
With the rising numbers, young people around the world are vital to the transformation of society. Of course, they are direct architects to the very uniqueness we need. But what is the way forward in reducing some of the challenges hindering the involvement of youth and society? Is it health, education, advocacy, and you just name it? Here comes Youth Insight. One